Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And boy, oh boy, we have a fun episode for you guys here today. So make sure you go and subscribe to the channel, like the video if you haven't already. So as y'all know, Magic Johnson is the biggest face. He's the official face of the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Whenever you think of the greatest Lakers of all time, the majority of the people out there will tell you that it's Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson with his $1 million smile, great personality, great public speaker, very charismatic guy. He's always been, the face of the Los Angeles Lakers. And to a certain extent, he is like the unofficial or official spokesman of the team in public. Whenever the Lakers are going through tough periods or whenever there are things happening around the team, he's usually the guy that comes out and talks about the team, whether if you see him on ESPN or if something is going on with the team where he has to leave a comment or express his thoughts on Twitter. He's usually the person that does that, especially this season when the Lakers were struggling. He's been the one that came out there and said on one occasion, he said to the team owner, Jeannie Buss, he said, one of the team owners, he said, you deserve better than this. The Lakers have to be better. So he's always been very, very outspoken. And recently, he went on ESPN First Take. He was doing his rounds, at the network at ESPN, and he was his usual outspoken self. And he made some comments yesterday that we want to get into in today's video, where he was really dissecting some of the issues that the Lakers have had and really talked about why LeBron has had a role to play in some of the failures that the Lakers have had this season. So for those of you who missed some of the comments that he made on ESPN and the other First Take and the other show Get Up, we want to play a little bit of some of what he had to say, and then we're going to come back here and react to what he had to say. So take a listen to some of the things.
When I think about it, the blame that he's got to take is the fact that DeRozan ended up in Chicago and not with the Lakers. He has
expand on that thought if you will.
Well, because DeRozan wanted to play for the Lakers, and when I got the call from his agent, I called the Lakers, said, hey, he wants to come home, and DeRozan could have been a Laker instead of a Bull. We could have made that deal, but when Russell and LeBron and them start talking, that's when they nixed that deal and went with Westbrook, and he became a Laker instead of DeRozan. And I think with DeRozan, and then you had a chance to keep the role players, Caruso, KCP, all those guys who are our best defenders, see, they left. And that's why we were a bad defensive team. But if you signed DeRozan, you only trade Kuzma for Buddy Hield, we would be playing in the Western Conference Championship this year with those two guys. First of all, he's got to get healthy and stay on the court, okay? That's number one. Accountability is big here, and the Lakers all season have not taken accountability. Whether that's individual play, whether that's on the defensive end, whether that's playing together, Stephen A. So my problem is with them saying, making all these excuses. So we're making excuses again. Quit making excuses. This thing did not work out. The parts did not fit. And last but not least, it's not all on Frank Vogel. We know he's going to get fired. We know that. If the players don't say, I got to get better next season, because Stephen A., they coming back with the same team, not the same 9 role players, right, but the core 3 is probably going to have to come back because you can't attach a first-round pick trying to trade Westbrook. You just can't do that because now we don't have any more first-round picks. So they're going to have to say, you know what, we got to work this thing out. And Russell's got to look up and say, the last 3 weeks I've been playing pretty good. You got to play like that going into next season.
As you can hear from those sound bites, he didn't dance around the issue. And let me tell you why I think he didn't dance around the issue from a life standpoint. Magic Johnson is worth $600-700 million, right? So he's a very wealthy guy, very successful businessman. So he's one of these people that is in a position where he has what you call FU money. It's not like it's a Magic Johnson can come out there, say something, and then someone can feel a type of way about it, and he's going to be affected. His bottom line is going to be affected by it. So he's in a very unique position where he can speak his mind, and literally nothing will happen. Laker Nation is not going to turn on Magic Johnson ever because he's Mr. Laker, right? And I think that gives him a lot of confidence to go out there and say what he really thinks. Now, he answered direct question. He answered directly and said that LeBron does deserve some blame as far as when the team had an opportunity to acquire DeMar DeRozan over Russell Westbrook. As you heard, he was contacted by his agent. It looked like it was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, LeBron and Russell Westbrook ended up, getting into conversation. Before you know it, that thing totally fell apart. And then Russell Westbrook ended up being a Los Angeles Laker. And I think that is clearly a decision that the team regrets today, given the success that DeMar DeRozan has been able to experience in Chicago. If I look at the Chicago Bulls right now, they have a record of what are the Chicago Bulls? 45-33. And DeMar DeRozan has been at the center of their success, especially when Zach LaVine went down. And at some points in this season, a lot of people were giving him some serious consideration to be the regular season MVP. So DeMar DeRozan has been a hell of a player. And I'm sure a lot of people looking at the success that he's had with the Chicago Bulls probably fantasize of what he would have been like had he been on the Lakers floor to help them, this season. So there's that. Now, here are my thoughts on this. I think that there's enough blame to go around. Yes, LeBron James is to be blamed. But I think the single biggest reason that this team has failed this season was due to complacency. I think the Lakers were drinking their own Kool-Aid and they were reading their own press and believing the hype. Going into this season, the Lakers were picked as the team to represent the Western Conference. There was all of this hype and excitement surrounding the team, especially after they acquired Russell Westbrook. And, because you're looking at, they have 3 all-stars, they have a 3-headed monster, and then now they're going to be able to take on the Brooklyn Nets, which I think the Lakers were trying to do. And I think them acquiring Russell Westbrook was a total overreaction to what the Brooklyn Nets ultimately were doing, in my personal opinion. So after, once the season started, you could see that the Lakers were very, very excited. And what I think happened was this simply. I think the Lakers went into this season and they thought that their opponents were going to lay down in front of them and they were just going to run over the entire league. And the exact opposite happened. Instead of teams lying down and bowing down to them, they went at them all season long. Teams didn't believe that this team were all that good, and they wanted to prove it. At no point in this regular season did you ever get a sense that opponents who were playing the Lakers were fearing them. It has gotten to the point where it seems like opponents are actually salivating at the opportunity to play against the Lakers to embarrass them. I think another reason that this team has underperformed is that the Lakers, I believe, decided that they weren't going to play defense because I think they thought a lot of those guys on those rosters, because they have a lot of Hall of Fame players, I think that they viewed playing defense as something that was beneath them. I truly believe that. I don't think the Lakers had players on their roster that were willing to get their hands dirty, get their hands in the mud, and play defense and do the little things to win games. I think a lot of the Laker players were more concerned with doing the glamorous things, hitting the nice shots, hitting the long threes, getting the nice dunks, getting the crowd to applaud them. And they didn't focus on the X and O's and really doing the fundamental things that successful ball clubs have to do in order to be competitive. And now you get yourself to a situation in the season where this team, they've been so entrenched in their bad habits, it's almost impossible for them to break their bad habits. They have no defensive principles, and it got to the point where they simply couldn't turn on a switch. And that's the reason they ultimately could not play defense. A lot of people kept on thinking the Lakers were going to hit the switch, and it never happened. It never happened. The number one reason this team failed this season was because of their defense. Poor leadership and all of that as well, but their defense has been the number one reason. I think LeBron stopped leading this team a long time ago. I think LeBron became transfixed on the scoring title and making sure that at the end of this season, his name came out totally unblemished. That they can look at the team, they say, well, the team did terribly, but at least I led the league in scoring at 37, right? So I'm good. Similarly to the year where I think it was after the 2011 NBA Finals that he went up there and stunk up the joint. And I think he was somewhere in the summer and he had a shirt saying, check my stats. Check my stats. So LeBron is one of these guys that as long as he has his numbers and his team loses, he feels fine because listen, I did my part. That's the type of guy he is. He's been that guy all these years. So to me, listen, I think Magic Johnson made some strong points, but obviously there are other things that were at work there. Some of the things that I've already said. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about the comments that Magic Johnson made? What do you think about some of the things that I said? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, we'll definitely catch you guys on the next episode.